You know, I thought surely I would have successfully sucked a pair of denim jeans out of a straw before I would have ever had to make this video. So Lizzo, artist, icon, philanthropist, is now facing a career-threatening lawsuit from her former backup dancers. The lawsuit was filed by dancers Ariana Davis, Crystal Williams, and Noel Rodriguez against Lizzo herself, her Big Girl Big touring company, and her dance captain, Shirlene Quigley. The claims of this suit include, but are not limited to, assault, disability discrimination, a hostile work environment, sexual harassment, and a whole lot more. The suit alleges accounts of Lizzo balling up her fist to hit one of the dancers, assigning long, break-restricted rehearsal days, which resulted in one of the dancers soiling her pants, pressuring one of the dancers to engage with a nude performer at a club, and a whole lot more. Okay, so as a means of trying to understand the reality of things, not as a means of justification or pardoning, I gotta say, it sounds very possible that Lizzo not only did these things, but genuinely thought they were okay. Even if she didn't think that they would portray her in the best light if publicized, I don't think Lizzo thought that she would have to answer for this like this. Like, I don't think she saw this one coming. You know why? Because this shit happens all the time. This is not new. You know, these claims, while some of them extremely unpleasant and horrendous in detail, they're believable. Dare I even say practical, especially coming from the entertainment industry where there's no HR, no ethics committee, no real means of consequence for celebrities being fucked. Just fucked up individuals. I mean, this is the same industry where Naomi Campbell has been accused like 4 different times of beating the shit out of her employees. This is the same industry where Russell Crowe choked Azalea Banks at a dinner party in front of witnesses. This is the same industry where it's rumored that them Diddy parties get freaky deaky, spooky ooky. Despite these people using their celebrity to behave indecently to people with less power than them, they are still highly respected and regarded in their field. So not only do I think Lizzo thought this stuff was okay, I think she thought it was light work. So this leaves me of 2 minds. Well, like 3 actually. Okay, so on the one hand, yes, these types of allegations are workplace issues that should have always been taken seriously. Details of this lawsuit aside, what this really boils down to are common workplace issues that we have all, majority of us, I would assume, have come across. You know, feeling degraded in the workplace, not feeling comfortable or safe around your boss, hearing microaggressions. These are common workplace issues, and here we have a case that's getting enough buzz, enough visibility that, I mean, maybe employees will be seeing a new day. And I'm happy about that. But it is not lost on me that it's the head of Lizzo, of all people, that the public wants on a stick. I can stand firmly against this behavior and still clock that, babe, your fat phobia is showing. Again, the reason I go so hard against fat phobia is because it's one of those discriminations that's considered righteous. Fat phobia is so dark. It's so twisted. Like, it normally campaigns for the suffering, the public suffering and humiliation of a group of people simply for the size of their bodies. We are taught to undertake it as a personal mission, as a means to better society. And then came Lizzo. And she was the embodiment of defying that rhetoric. And she really served as a beacon of hope for those who have been oppressed by that rhetoric. But now, those same little boogers, those same people who stood on standby waiting for her failure, they somewhere in a corner grinning like some damn Cheshire cats. And y'all don't deserve that kind of happiness, actually. Y'all don't deserve that kind of joy. And y'all really don't deserve the ease of getting to pretend to care about these very serious allegations when in reality, you would have stood beside anything that would have facilitated the public humiliation that you feel this fat Black woman always deserved. Y'all do not deserve this happiness. Y'all deserve tears. and darkness, and to stub your toe on the side of the bed, and to step on Legos barefoot, and to never be able to find the backs to any of your earrings. Oh, y'all deserve. While I am pressed, and this is feeling number 3, and the paramount attitude that I have about this whole thing, I will not allow my upset about bigots maybe getting the last laugh, or my adoration of a very iconic and important pop star to overpower my ethic of instinctively believing victims, automatically believing accusers. So if you're still with me, hello. My name is T, if you're new here, and I hope that your day is going however it needs to go to get you right here with me. Cause this is a fucking mess. So let's talk about instinctively believing accusers, and really just the audacity to accuse, especially in the entertainment industry. I have a feeling that the plaintiffs, aka the people who filed this lawsuit, again, Ariana Davis, Crystal Williams, and Noel Rodriguez, they are not naive to the fact that they are up against some really strong forces. The defense is at a much greater advantage than these 3 dancers who, to the public's knowledge, have not submitted any tangible evidence to prove their claims, whose stories are not being corroborated. You know she on her lawyer tip today. You know, it's giving Olivia Pope if she went to Freaknik. Corroborated. Yeah, their stories are not being corroborated by any of the other dancers who were there with them. And these are people who are relatively unknown. Regardless of the outcome of this suit, these women have already lost their jobs. They are probably never gonna work in that town again, probably never gonna work in that industry again. Definitely not with a star of Lizzo's caliber. Their honesty is up for question, their integrity is up for question. But they still did it anyway. They still went ahead with the lawsuit anyway, and that means something to me. Beyond that, as marginalized women of color themselves, we saw on the Watch Out for the Big Girl show that the contestants who were competing to be Lizzo's dancers, the reverence that they had for Lizzo was different. It was very personal, and I think that was what was so endearing about the whole show, is that they loved Lizzo on a different level because of what Lizzo represented. You know, to be on the outside adoring Lizzo and what she stands for is one thing, but to work closely enough with her that you are also getting to be a part of that history, revolutionizing the conversations around Black bodies and their visibility and their sexuality and just their right to exist without interference. I'm just trying to emphasize how important Lizzo is, right? So these dancers both felt the importance of Lizzo's position in pop culture history, and they got the opportunity to be a part of it. And they still said, burn it to the ground anyway. They feel like whatever they endured while working under this woman was so awful that it is worth tarnishing the legacy. It is worth losing their jobs. It is worth the vitriol and the backlash from the internet. So with so much to lose and so little to gain, yes, I believe these dancers. I really, really do. But I just don't think that they're gonna win this case. Let's jump to the disability discrimination claim, aka the Pee the Pants claim, okay? So I am referencing the 44-page lawsuit available on Deadline. So if you wanna follow along, this is starting on page 17. So quote, on or about April 20th, 2023, the dance cast was scheduled for an 8-hour rehearsal. Near the end of the rehearsal, Lizzo arrived and called the dance cast together for a meeting to address the rumors of unprofessionalism. During this meeting, Lizzo also stated that the dancers were not performing up to par and repeatedly accused the dancers of drinking alcohol before shows, even though the dance cast had never partaken in such a practice. Lizzo then stated all the dancers would be required to re-audition for their spots, and if Lizzo was dissatisfied with their performance at the end of the day, the dancers would be fired and sent home. The re-audition was brutal as the dancers were not allowed a break. During the run-through of the show, Miss Davis felt she needed to excuse herself to use the restroom. However, she was afraid that if she left the stage at any point during the audition, she would be fired. Miss Davis was pressed on as long as she could until she eventually lost control of her bladder. Still fearing the repercussions of exiting the stage during the run-through, Miss Davis remained on stage, dancing in soiled clothes until there was a brief segment of the show where the dance cast was not a part of the onstage performance and were allowed a short break. So that's the recount of Ariana's accident, but she blames this on Lizzo because, going back to page 6, quote, "In or about May 2021, Miss Davis was required by Lizzo and BGBT to submit a psychological examination to ensure she was psychologically healthy enough to endure the strain of filming the television show. During this examination, Miss Davis disclosed that she struggles with anxiety and depression, which occasionally results in binge eating. The waiver of privilege of confidentiality and consent to evaluation form she signed prior to undergoing the examination states that the information disclosed during the evaluation, quote, may be provided to production, its representatives, and or any other individuals or entities involved in the show as deemed appropriate by the doctor performing the evaluation or by production. Ms. Davis is informed that she believes her disclosure of her struggles with anxiety, depression, and binge eating were relayed to Lizzo and BGBT." So Ariana was basically saying that Lizzo and them should have been aware of her mental health struggles and should have never put her in such a high stress environment that would trigger her anxiety and lead to an accident. About 3 days after the accident, Ariana was fired, and she passively suggests that it was because she gained weight. Now remember, she has an ED, binge eating, and she says that that is brought on by her anxiety and depression. So what Ariana is claiming here is making perfect sense to me. You know, as a regular person who tries to be compassionate, it makes perfect sense that an employee had an accident on the clock because their employer put them in such a high stress environment. It triggered their anxiety, and then the changes to the employee's body brought on by the ED was displeasing to the employer, again an employer in the entertainment industry, so then they were fired. It makes perfect sense to me. Like, this is such a simple domino effect to me. But let me tell you, when they go up in that courtroom, if this case even makes it to court, I wouldn't be surprised if the defense is like, oh, so you mean to tell me that your invisible illness, not imaginary, but invisible, because you can't see anxiety, you can't see depression, you know, this invisible illness is the reason why you couldn't simply excuse yourself to use the restroom? Did you even bother to ask? And then you admittedly have an ED because of these invisible illnesses, but instead of taking the time off for therapy that you were offered, you peed yourself at rehearsal. Oh my gosh, that's really how I think it's gonna go down, and I hate that. I hate that. Okay, let's see here. Another claim from this lawsuit that I resentfully don't think is gonna stand up is the religious harassment claim. So this claim was made by all 3 dancers against Shirlene Quigley, the dance captain, and BGBT. Quote, similar to Ms. Quigley's constant sexually inappropriate comments, Ms. Quigley ministering to plaintiffs was unceasing. Ms. Quigley also singled out Ms. Rodriguez as a non-believer and made it her mission to preach at Ms. Rodriguez. Ms. Quigley even told other dance cast members it was her mission to minister to Ms. Rodriguez during the tour. When cast members told Ms. Rodriguez of Ms. Quigley's intent, Ms. Rodriguez specifically requested that Ms. Quigley refrain from impressing her religious beliefs upon Ms. Rodriguez. Ms. Quigley became irate and yelled at Ms. Rodriguez. At one point while on tour, Ms. Quigley stated, "No job and no one will stop me from talking about the Lord." Gosh. Prior to this, the suit states that Shirlene Quigley had an extreme fixation with Ariana's virginity. She would constantly bring it up in conversation with Ariana, and even once in interviews and on social media. The suit further states that Noelle, who's referred to as Miss Rodriguez, who again did not identify with the Christian faith, was once urged to lead a team prayer. Here's the thing with Sister Shirlene, okay? So many people, myself included, know what it's like to be badgered by the book, to be whipped by the word, okay? And have Christian values really pushed in your face. And I say this as someone who is Christian presenting. You know, I believe in a higher power. I celebrate the Christian holidays. I was raised Christian. I'm still, you know, I'm trying to figure a couple things out. But even I still feel like Christian values are constantly being pushed in my face. But it's one of those things that's allowed because that's what this country is built on. In America, Christians, more than any other religious group, they get the privilege of spreading their beliefs, not just in their place of worship, but in schools, at work, on the Congress floor. And it's considered normal. In fact, it's considered a good, wholesome action. I went to grade school in the Bible Belt, okay? If you know, you know. If you know. Do y'all remember that pledge of abstinence they made us sign in the 5th grade? In the 5th grade? Do y'all remember that? Like it was yesterday, if I remember it. They separated the boys and girls. They put us in separate classrooms to have our first sort of like, I guess you would call it a reproductive health talk. Maybe, I'm not sure. And then at the end of it, they were like, and just sign right here so that we can confirm that you're not going to be doing anything funny until you get a ring on that finger, if you would just. 5th grade, y'all. Fundamentalist Christian purity culture strikes again. That's one example. I'm also thinking about that one viral video where there was a group of Christians on an airplane and they started singing gospel, like real loud. It overtook the entire plane. And it was a-okay. Nobody stopped them. Nobody said anything. And all I could think while watching that video was, what if a group of Muslims did this? And I'm just gonna leave that right there. America is built on Christian values and the legal system ain't no different. And it's not like the plaintiffs in this claim could be like, oh, you know, it's not like they sternly identified with another religion so that maybe they could cite religious discrimination, because I feel like that maybe is taken a little bit more seriously. But they were basically like, oh no, Sister Shirlene, she is a devout Christian and she was annoying us with it. I don't think that's gonna stand up. I just don't think it's gonna stand up. And then all the other claims, all of them making perfect sense, but just so easy to poke holes in. The racial discrimination claim, mostly built on microaggressions. What else? The intentional interference with prospective economic advantage. So the dancers were never explicitly told that they couldn't take on other jobs when they were not working with Lizzo. It was kind of just implied, allegedly. So there's that, which again is enough. I mean, like, imagine you work a seasonal holiday job, right? Many people pick up jobs around the holidays for a little extra cash. Now imagine that employer telling you, well, I'm not saying you can't take other jobs. I'm just saying if you really like this one, you'll think about it before you take another job. Common workplace issues, but because it was never explicitly said, ugh. All right, what we got next? False imprisonment. Okay, this was fucked. According to Ariana, after she was fired, she was detained in a hotel room where a member of security went through her phone and her iCloud, and she wasn't allowed to leave the room until that was completed. Another thing that's fucked. This how do I say this without getting demonetized? This harassment claim, let's go through that for a second. So starting on page 12, quote, on or about February 23rd, 2023, plaintiffs performed with Lizzo at a show in Amsterdam, Netherlands. After the show, Lizzo invited the dancers out with her on the town. As it turns out, Lizzo had planned a night out in Amsterdam's notorious red light district, known for its abundance of sex theaters, sex shops, and clubs and bars where nudity is on full display. The main event of the night was a club called Bananen Bar, where patrons are allowed to interact with completely nude performers. While at Bananen Bar, things quickly got out of hand. Lizzo began inviting cast members to take turns touching the nude performers, catching toys launched from the performers' regions, and eating bananas protruding from the performers' regions. Lizzo then turned her attention to Miss Davis and began pressuring Miss Davis to touch the breasts of one of the nude women performing at the club. Lizzo began leading a chant goading Miss Davis. Miss Davis said 3 times, loud enough for all to hear, "I'm good," expressing her desire not to touch the performer. The chant grew louder and more strident, demanding a visibly uncomfortable Miss Davis to engage with the performer. Miss Davis reiterated her discomfort, saying, "I'd rather not because I'm cool here in the corner." Finally, the chorus became overwhelming, and a mortified Miss Davis acquiesced in an attempt to bring an end to the chants. I completely believe this. While I don't judge Lizzo for turning up like this and enjoying these types of performances, she doesn't have the right to project that onto other people. No. But the believability of this scenario aside, just think for a second how Ariana must have felt. How embarrassed. My heart really goes out to Ariana because while this lawsuit, the plaintiffs are 3 people, she's really at the center of this. And embarrassment is a recurring theme for her. I mean, just look at all the things that are discussed regarding Ariana within this lawsuit. It mentions her mental illnesses, her eating disorder, her peeing her pants, her getting fired in a hotel lobby in front of the other dancers, her being detained and having her digital privacy violated, her virginity. Oh my gosh, her virginity up for conversation in private and on social media without her consent. And now this? No. Imagine going through that. And at the center of it is one of the biggest stars in the world who everyone adores, who everyone has this idea of just wholesome and positivity of. Would you also not feel compelled to sue? In the very least, kick up a little bit of ruckus, which I do believe is the purpose of this lawsuit. I think that these women know that they're not actually gonna win. I think they know that this might not even be brought to trial. I think they know that the majority of critical and honest conversation about this lawsuit is going to live and die on the internet. But they just want to kick up some ruckus because this needs to be addressed. Not only do I think Lizzo will not lose this case, I don't think her career will take that much of a hit either. Yeah. Machiavelli on TikTok, she has a video talking about this from a PR perspective and from a real bitch perspective. I do be liking her videos. But she made some really good points about how within just about all these allegations, there is so much room for Lizzo to essentially come in and be like, I did nothing wrong, or I did nothing illegal. That's probably better to say. I did nothing illegal. The real problem here is I didn't live up to the standards you had set for me in your head. And the reason you even hold me to these standards and are viciously attacking me for them is because I am a fat black woman. And I can do no right in your eyes. And would she be wrong? In the words of Mecca, would she be wrong? I said what I said, but do these claims seem extra horrendous when the name of Lizzo is attached to it? Yes, because collectively we assigned virtue to Lizzo that honestly no celebrity ever really deserves. But the thing about Lizzo is she was selling the part. Personally, I was using the deductive reasoning of because Lizzo stands for good things, she must be a pleasant person. Therefore, she must be a pleasant employer. Lizzo can, in fact, be a philanthropist, a feminist, an ally for other oppressed and marginalized groups, someone who promotes radical self-acceptance, and still be kind to me. Multiple things can be true at once. Look at me. Personally, those wires never crossed for me though. I don't know why. I don't know if that's because Lizzo looks super sweet. Because that could be my own fatphobia at play right there. Actually, you know, me deeming her as a completely non-threatening and super sweet and jolly individual, like, is that because of her size? Oh my gosh, is the call coming from within the house? So in conclusion, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know where my relationship with Lizzo's stardom is gonna go from here. I don't know where my feelings about Lizzo are. So I don't want to make any promises or anything like that, but I can say I am disappointed. Also disappointed in myself at the personal pain I felt, you know, not just shock and disapproval, but I was devastated. When the news came out, oh, I was sick. And I'm a little bit disappointed in those emotions. Like, I allow myself to have them, you know. We're in therapy and whatnot. So like, I allow myself to feel my feelings, but I am a little bit about them because that definitely means that I don't have the grip on my parasocial relationships that I once thought I had, okay? I have never thought myself to be too good for parasocial relationships. I don't think. I mean, Beyonce fully exists, does she not? So, knowing how much fun it is for me to just adore an artist down and keep company who like to adore artists down, I'm just not gonna deny myself that kind of pleasure. Literally, it's my life. I'm gonna do with it what I want. But I have always held the idea that I have a pretty strong grip on it. I mean, I literally have a video on stan culture where I'm being very critical about it because the things that I mentioned in that video, I don't be doing, right? So sure, I'm not camping out at concert venues. I'm not bullying strangers online behind my fave, but clearly I'm assigning undeserved virtue to people I don't know. I am shocked and appalled when I find out that someone who I don't know has done something that I couldn't imagine. Now, what kind of sense that makes? So I'm gonna check that. Lizzo being an allegedly intimidating and unpleasant employer, it's not gonna stop her from being a global superstar, I don't think. I think she'll be just fine with this, even though the optics were horrible. Horrible. The lawyer that Lizzo hired to defend this case, let's just say that if there was a name for his celebrity client list, it would be, they did that shit, Your Honor. They did that shit, Your Honor. Those are the types of clients he represents, okay? So for Lizzo to hire him is like, but he wins cases, so. Additionally, that statement that Lizzo released, oh my goodness. Oh my, 2 thumbs down. Not very swag money of her at all. Like, not the Notes app posted at the top of the morning, Eastern Standard Time, following the defend and deny 2-step. Like, not that. Anything but that. I hope we know that when the dust settles with all of this and, you know, Lizzo wins the case or settles out of court or it's just dismissed as a whole, because I think those are really the only 3 options here. I hope we know that the Lizzo we knew, you know, outspoken, outgoing, oversharing, she's gone. Because you see, what we want to hear, or actually let me just speak for myself, what I want to hear from Lizzo, homegirl Lizzo, I want her to sit down. I want her to sit down with like a podcaster. I don't even want her to do an official Diane Sawyer or Gayle King interview. No. I don't need it to high pinky like that. I want her to sit down with like a Jason Lee, and I want her to be like, alright, so it's like this. We was in Amsterdam, right? And I was like, yo, I heard of this club where they be eating bananas out the pussy. Y'all trying to slide? So then they came through, and then I merely suggested. That's what I want to hear. I think she's going to be tight-lipped about the whole thing, possibly forever, but she's still going to maintain her stardom and popularity. This is just going to be a blip in the radar. I'm wishing nothing but the best to the dancers. Again, their names are Ariana Davis, Crystal Williams, and Noelle Rodriguez. Wishing nothing but the best to those ladies. And I'm wishing nothing but remorse and lessons learned to Sister Shirlene and the BGBT team and Lizzo. Thank you all so much for watching, especially if you made it to the end of the video. Let me tell y'all something. I had to get on my motherfucking Zoom to get this video out in this specific time frame. Zoom! No, because it's giving 2020 tea. Y'all remember when I used to be busting out the videos like once a week? Huh? My turnaround time was nuts. I literally would have a video idea, script it in 2 days, record it, edit it that same day, and then it would be up. Oh, I was bad. I was so bad. I didn't know that I still had it in me to do it like that, because these days, you know, it's giving like once every rapture, once every leap years when y'all be getting videos these days. So basically, don't expect this kind of fast-paced shit all the time, but I'm just saying, I ain't lost it and I'm proud of myself. So let me know your thoughts in your comments down below. But watch your mouth. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, however you're feeling today, and subscribe for more content. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.